That's my song.
That's your song. Tell us why. Is it your song?
I don't know. I think him as an artist, I mean, he's actually, I think he's just, he moves me. Every time he sings, I have brush on my skin, I have goosebumps on my skin. And the whole melody and also the bad dreams and the it's just, I just love this song since the moment I heard it. So
it's one of his lesser known songs. He's not really famous for that.
Exactly.
And that's what I like
That's
about
what I
it.
love it. And I think it's, the Lose Control was really the one that took out. But I think
Swims.
Right.
There's much more soul to it. I don't know. I
love the name.
Bad Dreams. Yeah. Don't we all have them?
Yeah.
Don't we all have them? Hello and welcome to Forward Moves, hosted by Lina, Nahhas and Raja Haddad. A conversation with our guests about the path of their successful journey, where they started and what kept them moving forward in an ever-changing environment. Hello, Stefania Nazzal. How are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. For our listeners and viewers, and I have to read the write-up because that's why my eyes are always on the screen. Stefania Nazzal is a Swiss contemporary artist living in Dubai, whose mixed media creations weave together bold colors that are dreamlike, even at times they are paradoxical. Compositions that are the results of a very meticulous creative process. In this deeply layered process, Stefania chooses every component and shift in tone as a means of dissecting colors we see in nature. And most importantly, those that we don't see. And that she works with materials that she brings together to offer a visual sensation, to replicate the touch they offer, and the result of is a mesmerizing invitation to a world of senses. Born in 1976, with Greek, Italian, and Swiss heritage, Stefania trained at the Cyprus Academy of Art and at Central St. Martin's in London. She was featured in many, many exhibitions and art spaces around the world, from Al Jalila Foundation in Dubai to Gauche Foundation in London, and ACAF in Brussels and Art d'Egypte in Cairo. Stefania's creation feature regularly at Art Miami and art galleries in Los Angeles and Dallas, to name just few of what's going on. Our dear Stefania, as with every journey, and yours has certainly been a very rich one. Where did it all start?
So, the very beginning, it started where I had an internship at Sotheby's in Geneva with Caroline Lang, very famous and very amazing woman. And I was basically helping her in the library and taking, all the brochures for the auctions were getting prepared. And I was, helping her at that time. It was, I think around 18, 20 years old or something. And I saw that piece coming through, physical piece from the Polish art. It's called Polenka or alpaca. And that piece was a very big piece. And his method, what he used to just write number from 1 to infinite. That was his pieces. So all he does is write number from 1 to infinite in a white paint. So the whole painting is actually numbers. And I was struck by that work. And this is the moment where I realized that I was in the wrong, department. And I actually wanted to create and not be on the business side of it.
Yeah.
What in his work created that spark?
I think it's number. My relationship with numbers also is very strong. I believe in Chinese mythology. I believe in numerology. I believe all these things. And for to see all these numbers, and he's just, the way it was just such a beautiful piece, but so simple as well, And I think numbers evoke so many things. It's a database for everything. It can be something emotional. It can be so many things, and this is the moment where I realized inspired me to actually be creative and not on the business side of it.
Side of art, yeah. And I like this idea of these perpetual numbers, from 1 to infinity. But
I think, in a way, if you look at my work as well, and we can talk about it in a bit, but the fact of having something so simple, but when you multiply in thousands, it's just another. It just takes another life. It's take another, complete meaning, right?
Infinity and infinity of meanings.
Yes, that too. But it's the fact of multiply. That's what my strings. You have
Yeah.
one string is,
It's just a string by
just a
itself.
string,
Yeah.
boring thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when you multiply into thousands of 100,000, then, it takes a completely,
Even when you frame it, which by definition will stop the movement, it's still multiplied, it's still expanding, and it's still going beyond than what it's supposed to be, which is just a string. And I think
Yes.
this is the whole idea of,
Yeah.
as you said, the different layers, the different meanings of one thing, one item. How can you interpret it in different things?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's
Can
what
take so
adds-
many different purpose, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and different perspectives.
Yeah.
And is that thinking comes from the fact that you've also lived in many places. You've been, you lived in Switzerland. You lived a long time in Cairo, and also here in Dubai. You've been exposed to all different cultures and ways of expressions. Does that play a role?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and it's funny how there's some cities bring something different in terms of inspiration. So, my time in Cairo was actually sadly sad because it was during the uprising. So, it was very difficult, for me. So it was like a period in my life which was very difficult. And then when I moved to Dubai after that, the thing that's come through is absolutely much more positive and much more inspiring in another way,
I'm picking up on the inspiring and I'm liking it because that's the spark, isn't it? It was like the spark, whether when you saw the numbers and that moved you to
Yes.
make a decision that this is going to be your path as an artist. And what are those points of inspiration along the line? What did they generate in terms of your art or in terms of
The different
moving
transitions.
Yeah, or moving you from one transition in your art manifestation to the other.
So I never know, to be honest. It just comes. I mean, for example, last year or like the past couple of years, I've been working. The inspiration came from more, and that's why the works that I presented in Art Basel last year. I mean, Art Miami was called Lucid Dreams, where everything is in more of a fleeting moments, where to create kind of realms where you're just really serene and peaceful. Like, for example, when you're on a plane, and when you're looking outside and it's the only time when I, at least, and I know a lot of people like this as well, where I'm just completely I don't have to deal with anything that's real,
So you're not one of those people who connects on the plane? Because I'm horrible
I
at
watch
that.
movies and things, but
zoning out, and just like a kind of
and then the sky, and then all my work also, like it okay, now we went through, like, we skipped the first few years, but the connotation of the skies and the fleeting moments, and so that was my series for a long time. And now I'm actually in a transition again, where my work is going to evolve into something different, into a transition. But I think the main inspiration always come from nature as a base. And right now it's still following the same thing, but I'm working more on dispersion of light. So how do I, transition that work? And if you look at, with the same, using the strings, the beginning was much more bold, strong, using the phenomenon of the rainbow. The show that I had in LA on 2022 was called After the Rain, because after the rain, obviously, good things happen. It's the time you have the courage to start something and hope. And then after that, the work started to settle a bit more into, a more serene kind of colors and more, I would say, whimsical, and I think now, again, I'm kind of going into a transition where the work is going to go somewhere else. So, inspiration comes, I don't know where they come, but most of it is from nature and for a vision that I have. Like, it could be any time anymore, but it's visual.
So you said we skipped the earlier parts
Yes.
and we moved straight to what you're doing
Yes.
now and what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Let's go back to these earlier parts, right? So young Stefania, 18 years old, gets this Polish inspiration in Geneva. Then what?
in between that, I did hospitality management in École Hôtelière de Lausanne. So that was what happened right before it. So I did the cursus, and then this is when I moved to Dubai in 2002. And then on the side, I started basically to
experiment
paint.
With art.
Yeah.
So
I started to paint on my own, and then it's in basically when my daughter was born, which is in 2009, that I completely just stopped everything, and I just dedicated myself to art, and I did St. Martin's. I went also in Cyprus Academy of Art for and I had a mentor, which is she's a well-known artist, Egyptian artist, that taught me a lot of techniques. And her name is Riham Sadani. She lives in New York now, but she's a very famous Egyptian artist.
I like that. It's the choice of, despite the
she has all the technical
exactly.
tools and the know-how.
Oh yeah, it's purely by choice.
You get
and
to
the choice
choose
to do
depending
something
on what is going on.
So the mixed media is something that's until now that is, much more. It just attracts me much more, and I'm just having more fun with it, And
Fun. I like that. Because if it's not something that we have fun, why do it, right?
Of
and
course.
I think that should always be an anchor.
No, or something that you're excited about, and something new, something that, it. And also, I think the strings became so. The starting point was I was using it in some of my artwork, earlier works, which was a mix of also mixed media, because I used to, during the uprising, I used to basically paid the bawabs or whatever you call them for the cans, the Coca-Cola cans and all the cans, for them to keep them. So they used to keep me, those cans, and I used to basically die cut the cans into making a butterfly, because that was for me during the uprising, the way.
Right.
So I started with the string, a way of tie those butterflies together, and then when I moved to Dubai, so you could see just a few strings, and then when I moved here, so the strings is also something special for me, because I used to use them when I was younger. We used to make keychains and bracelets. It's called Scooby-Doo in French.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm not sure how it comes, but I said, why don't I actually use
the Scooby-Doo
all of
for
it
something else
as a medium? So then this is when it became the medium, the main medium.
Yeah.
As if you use paint, basically. The reason why I think it really resonated with me was because it, first of all, the texture, the density of color that you can't really attain that with you can have that with oil paint, but the thickness of it, and the texture and the 3D, so that that's why basically I decided I continue to use it.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying. It's the work of art. It can be 2D as a painting, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But what you chose to do is to work with material, to go for that sensation of the touch. You started with the cutouts of soda cans, and you had these Scooby-Doos kind of tying them, and then you saw, okay, that can evolve. But it was the material was always central to the work you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
We will talk about your next, your next transition, I'm sure. But has that always been central to your creations? The touch of the material, the component of the material.
Yes. So that and colors, I think, are the two main. But I think the material was until now very, very important, because, again, I just have more fun with it than just paint.
Mm-hmm. It's like playing. I'm like hearing. It's almost like you're playing.
So more exactly. So more playful.
More playful.
And then it became more meditative, because obviously it's a very tedious work to. I mean, in one artwork I have about of an artwork of 120 by 130 centimeter. I have around 2,500 strings. So I mean, imagine
wow.
it's also like such an OCD process, which
Wow.
I am.
I will never have the
No.
patience for that, Steph.
But that's the number 1 to infinity,
Yes.
going on and on and on, but in
Yeah.
your own way. Your own way.
So it's just, and then, I mean, I think now it's coming to also, again, I'm working on new transition works. The question I'm asking myself, and I will probably transition as well from the strings.
Okay.
So I can't say everything today just because it's still in works, but I'm on, how do you call it? Trial phase.
I like saying that on our show, that you heard it first on Forward Moves. So that Stefania just
But this
announced
one with
that
a little bit of mystery.
what as it should
Wait,
be. As it should be.
with the string, we're just holding the string before we
Exactly.
let it go.
Yeah. We get to a section now where we ask your friends to contribute with some questions, and you answer them. So unscripted. You don't know what they're gonna hit you with, but it's a nice
I
part.
love that part.
I think one is you kind of answered it, but let's play it anyway.
How did you start making art? What was the turning point in life that you decided to start making this beautiful, happy art that inspired us all?
So so that's come back. I mean, the beginning. That's what I said at the beginning when I was working at Sotheby's. I think and then also the she's probably referring to the works that which has been doing for the past few years now. But I think the point, there's one just story where the rainbow phenomenon, which started really the beginning. This is when I start in 2019. When I was chosen by ACAF in Brussels, which is Accessible Art Fair. There was, they stopped it last year, but for many years it was very successful. Out of 436 artists, they chose about, I think, 40 to 50, if I remember well. And on the board,
from around the world, or
yes, and you could apply. And then on the board, it was, Stefania Nazzal, who's known in the business as well, and Simon de Pury was one also of the judge, and Kenny Thatcher. That was my, I think from then
that
it was
moment,
it was when things got more snowballed for me, and I presented there a 3 by 2 meter piece of a massive rainbow. I mean, with the strings, right? Of the spectrum.
That's one big beautiful rainbow.
So it was, it was just really, that was my first, and the story behind this rainbow phenomenon was I was about 8-9 years old. My parents were in the middle of a divorce. As a child, I was always lonely. Not lonely is not a word. A loner.
A loner.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a loner. How do you call it? I am
a loner.
When I get too overwhelmed with people, I need to be on my own.
You need to focus.
I love to be on my own. I'm never bored on my own. Even if you leave me 5 days on an island, I'll be the most happy person.
Yes,
because I have so much stuff to do.
Solitude. It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
Solitude. Yeah.
So I was, but when I was 8, so around that time was a dark time for me, because my parents, I didn't know where I was going to live, and it was just not a good time, and it was very sad to go through that. And I remember I was in Switzerland on the way to school, and suddenly, in Switzerland it rains a lot, and our house was behind a field, and it was after raining, and this huge rainbow. I've never seen anything closer after that, and this is where I was really, like mesmerized by it. And I just loved the meaning of the treasure at the end. And all this. So after that, this is why my show was called After the Rain. Exactly. So that was the inspiration of it. And so for that time of my life where, and the idea was to, you cannot control about seeing a natural phenomenon, may it be a rainbow or may it be the northern lights. Like it's something that you can never control. So to have, but it gives so much whatever age you are, when you see one, you're,
in awe.
everybody's
You're
in awe,
exactly, yeah.
In awe. Yeah.
And so the idea was to recreate kind of something that's strong in vibration that you could own, so that you can always have your little ray of whatever.
Of light and sunshine.
Exactly.
I love that. You brought a piece of you when you were a child, and what brought you that level of awe that was much needed, and you brought it into an impact with such intricate layers, and yet so simple, because it's playful. It's back to your childhood.
Yes.
It's so inspiring that you were able to have that impact that you brought from so many years ago and encapsulated it in a piece of art. That's why it touched people so much.
Well, now I have to, I'm trying to, there is the reverse side of that.
There's always a reverse side.
There's always a reverse.
There's always a
Contrast
reverse.
is
Like,
good. Contrast.
No, I mean, that was a series and things. And I mean, I love working with lights and spectrum, but of course I'm not only doing rainbows. I mean, this is the what you call it, sometimes the association that I have, which I'm trying to break as well, because, it was great for a thing, but now it's so much, the meanings are so different now. And so, the work evolved in so different ways, but, it's easily for, people to put you in a box. Oh, this is, you do rainbows. Yeah, but it's just deeper than that. And I think that's why also I'm here today, and that's why I'm doing some work with my mentor, Nadine Houri, is to break, to tell my story, because at the end of the day, not many people know it. And
that's why I picked up on that, because there was a storytelling element of your childhood, and that was the layer that really was touching. So you're not doing rainbows, you're doing Stefania's layers.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
We have another question from another friend.
Hi, Stefania. Your art has had a significant impact on the creative community in Dubai. Can you share a pivotal moment in your journey where you faced a major challenge and how overcoming it shaped your career and artistic vision?
So that's Kate. Good question, Kate. Well, I think, there's two main ones that I'm thinking of. The earlier one is, that's a generic, I think, challenge for, the perception of people, and you're always being put in a box, right? Okay, that's where the rainbow also come up.
Right.
Does rainbow? Okay, this is it.
Yeah.
So the perception and the criticism, it's a very competitive market. Organically, for me, it started. Obviously, it started here, but organically, my main market is in the US.
Right.
Challenge with COVID was, thankfully for me, because people used to spend more time in their homes. They had more time to, redecorate, make it home more homey.
Spend more time with themselves.
Exactly.
In a way, yeah.
Exactly. And just so I got a lot of good...
More exposure.
Yeah. So that was great. But I think, to come back to her question, so I think one is really the overall criticism, in a way that you need to kind of, pass it and just overlook. But I think that's everywhere, not really related to the UAE, right? I think
And how do you overpass and overlook, or what do you lean into?
Well, I think it's not really to care what people think, because, there are so many also politics between, in the art worlds and between galleries, and, and if you hear every, things that you hear or criticism, or, then, you just...
Then you're no longer true to yourself.
That as well. And if you're a little bit weak, then you say, okay, I'm going to not stop. But you exactly. And then not true to yourself, meaning you're going to start creating things that, not for you, but...
Yeah. And I think it's and we had other guests also from the art world and the creative world, where the the idea of imposter, the idea of copycats is very
But that was my
present.
next. So sadly, something came up on Instagram, like a lady that I know sent me a post that somebody that basically just completely copy paste my work, like not even like straightforward, put her name on it, and basically claiming that it is her own work. And that is her work. So that was very shocking for me. I know the thing is, okay, I know people do that all the time. I mean, we all take ideas from each other. We all,
Get inspired by
get
it.
inspired,
Yeah.
get, which I get. But this is like, that person is in Dubai, probably next to my street. And it's not. I'm not the first one that she's doing that.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And it's just sad that that is happening. And between artists, I mean, we know very well where the community.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there's not much more I can do. Although I'm working on things, like trademarking my work,
Yes.
and so things like this. Yes, I'm working on that as well, and a couple of other things because I'm fortunate enough to have the capability of making an article and document myself in magazines and things like this. But so many other women or artists that this happens to them and they
And they don't know how
cannot
to-
they can't do anything, and it's I'm actually happy that this came up today because I'm hoping to have something. And we live in a city which Dubai is such an amazing city, and it's I would like to take advantage of that, and also not for me but to speak to any other artist or woman that has
Right.
that dealing with the same thing. I know it's common, I know people do it, it's just when it happens to you, I was
It
so
stings more, yeah.
upset. I think I'm just a one-off until now. I really hope, but I know this is happening a lot, and it's just how can we protect that? I'm not sure yet. I don't know if we ever know. At the end of the day, we know who we are, and also people
is a-
like collectors and people that buy the work. They know what
is
who is who.
who is
Exactly.
who.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know?
it's always about we had somebody say something about when the energy is real, that it's your energy, it's your little cellular DNA that went into that work, no one else's. There is no way that it can be duplicated and has the same impact. It's all the energy of what you put into it, your fingerprint on the details that you've selected one by one, layer by layer, just to arrive at that nobody else can actually duplicate. I wanted to ask you, I got very curious about the idea that you are big in the US. What do you think made that happen? Like what?
Like I said,
what
it
is,
was very
special?
organic.
Yeah.
It happens through social media. The gallery, this gallery represent me in Los Angeles and Miami, the Art Angels. They basically reached out to me and they wanted me to, make a trial with my pieces, and I sent them some work. And I remember the first 6 months, they never saw the work because everything was
But what
selling
made that, what do you think made that?
on social media.
But apart from that, why was it? But anybody can be on social media, but you got selected and then you kept on growing. So what do you think is the key
Ingredient.
I don't want to keep using secret sauce, but what do you think was that thing that was so magnetizing about your work to that specific crowd? It can't be just the visibility or an
It's
exposure.
the work itself.
Yeah, but
It's the
what
work
in your
itself.
work do you think, or what in you has created that for them, or in your work?
So I think that it started in accessible art fair, and I think the work, I think to be present on social media is very important nowadays. A lot of artists are discovered this way, or and that's what happened with them. That I know that they found me on Instagram. They asked me, "Oh, it would be interesting. Can you send me what you have? Your portfolio, the works looks interesting." So the whole process took like a year, right? I mean, it didn't happen overnight. And I think they were looking, the way they work is, they get portfolios, they things. If they have specific clients, I want something specific, they show the portfolio. And that's how it started before they actually, okay, this is working, because everything I'm sending to them, they haven't even seen it, and they sell
Because
it.
they were selling it in, yeah.
So, and then, one phone call, it was around summer. They're like, we're participating. I think it's time basically to have a contract with you. And we're participating in art Miami and Context. So the first year I was in Context, I just had a couple of pieces there, which was already sold. Or I'm not sure exactly which year, but anyways, the two pieces were there, and this is how it started. So then that was for me obviously very, very big. And then they after that so we were on contract, and I had a solo show with them in 2022. So it keeps on basically growing organically. And yeah, this year I have a great collaboration, which I can say now is Mandarin Oriental. So I'm redoing to all my pieces are in the lobby.
Beautiful.
So yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
On the balance of, well, I'll let Michael ask the question. I don't want to paraphrase his question. So Michael sent a question that I'll play it for you.
Hi, Stefania. It's Michael. Obviously, I've been a fan of you and your work for several years now, and I've really watched you evolve as an artist. And my question is, as a creative and someone who really wants to expose the world to your art and to your creative vision, how do you now separate the creative side from the commercial side to ensure that your art is profitable and affordable and allows you to continue to do the work that you love? Thank you. Best of luck. Love you.
That's a very good question. Love you too, Michael. And this is exactly what I was talking a little bit earlier, where there is a really fine line of you being too commercial and you create, and so the gallery that you are in, represented by, is very important, because that can, sadly, again, because sometimes everybody makes mistakes and wrong decisions. That's what I haven't taken any decisions yet for, some things that I'm not sure. I never say yes. But I think first of all there was a choice of creation. So where is my inspiration? What do I want to do in terms of work? And then the placement of the works, which is and this is very important. So you ask yourself, okay, where do you want to be? Where you want to represent it? What do you want to do? So I think it's a combination. But if I want to do this is not really gonna go there.
Yes.
So I think it's
there's always this balance to strike between
exactly.
the two.
So also you're gonna get criticized, and the perception would be they are. But I think that's why I have to stay truth to my work, knock on some doors, do the right collaboration, and I was saying earlier that now I'm looking into transitioning my work. So I think it is a very difficult question. I think it is a very difficult
phase,
because you obviously you want to sell, and you want to you also have rent to pay, and you have costs and everything involved, much more than before. So it's like but in another way, you also want creatively to evolve, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is the question also. It's like, I can take this question and put it into another form of how do I step out of my comfort zone?
Yeah.
Because today your comfort zone is the Scooby-Doo, right? I mean, everybody loves the Scooby-Doos, and the expressions of that can be infinite, because you can apply different colors, different shapes.
But it's not that. I think now today where I am is I want to break the form and the flatness. So I'm working on, there are some works actually which has been presented in Dallas, which is melted plexiglass with it, and still introducing the Scooby-Doo, but it's more monochromatic work. and concentrating more on the form, breaking the form, and less of the color. You know, like kind of a deconstructed work where you deconstruct the color from the work. So I'm working on that series, and then something else that I'm working on. So, you know, like Michael said, commercial wise, what's great is I'm also planning beginning of the year, which is exciting because I've never done that, is to do a drop of a limited series of maybe 10, 15 new works, going on that line of the melted plexi with, you know, so that's something I'm working on.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Again,
that's going to be super cool.
We heard it first.
Yep.
Yes.
Forward moves.
And you know, I'm catching the spark in your eyes whenever you say this is where it gets exciting, when it's stepping outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's again going back to that playful. There's a big playful person in you.
Yeah.
There's a little playful girl inside, and it's really, really heartening to see that. You know, like you said, yes, this is the most exciting thing is to step outside the comfort, the challenge or the comfort zone. So where is your comfort zone and what is outside your comfort zone?
So the outside of the comfort zone would be definitely to lose the control I have over the work. Like you can see, it's very meticulous and, you know, very OCD. So I'm trying to break this now, which is very difficult for me.
That's very healing.
Yeah.
That sounds really healing.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, I'm sometimes it's really very frustrating. So, but it's it's exciting because I have visions of what I want to create now. You know, execution wise can be very different.
You lost your train of thought, but this means that you are. But you lost because this means that you're still in the process of transitioning, because you know, and I think, you know, we talked about questions and, you know, and answering questions, and sometimes we don't have the answer.
No, I don't.
We just go through the question and the flow, and then see where it lands.
Yeah.
Right. And
I don't
we
know
just
the
had
outcome.
a live demonstration
I have
of
an
that.
idea, but then the idea can come with something completely different, right? Yeah.
We're about to wrap up, but we always ask this extra question,
Which I love.
which
I love
you
that.
love. So
go ahead. No,
you go ahead.
no, you are you sure? Shall we ask it together? 1, 2, 3. If you had one piece of advice to give yourself as the younger version, maybe when you were really young, or maybe when a teenager, or that you can pass on to a future generation of artists, what would that be?
Oh, so a young self. I would say, you know, maybe focus more and just don't worry about what people say, right? Because the beginning, I mean, I didn't have to really do the school that I did. I should have gone directly into art, but, you know, and to other artists, and, you know, that this, just stay yourself, and, you know, and, you know, stay true to you, and the genre or whatever will come. And because, you know, again, if you do things that what you inspired and what you love, then, you know, you will find basically your niche, you know?
Staying true to oneself.
Expression.
Well, Stefania, this was very inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We can't thank you
enough. It was very fun. Thank you.
Again, we keep on using authenticity. We came up with another
realness. We said radical honesty.
Radical honesty.
And we said being real.
And being real. And staying true to yourself, as you repeatedly said.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that, and what you have shared with us, what you have shared with our audience. And
I want to thank I want to thank your playful child.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I want to go back and say thank you.
But now I try to be a little bit more the work is going to be more serious, though.
Yes.
Not as playful.
But
but it's inspired by this playfulness.
But it's,
the essence is stepping outside that comfort zone, like you said, which you really enjoy, which is what children do.
And we're really looking forward for your next creation. I mean, we're not going to wish you success. You already are very successful, but we're going to wish you, as Lina said, to remain playful and enjoy what you keep on doing.
Thank you.
This has been Forward Moves, a conversation hosted by Lina Nahhas and Raja Haddad with Stefania Nazzal about her successful career and the path and the journey towards that success. If you like us, tell your friends about us, leave us a comment and a 5-star rating. Producer today was Sai. We are recording at the Poster Studio in Dubai. And until then, keep moving forward.